one of the biggest and most profound, probably the only lightning rod moment in my life where it's like, whoa, my life can be divided into before that, literal, like instantaneous recognition, and after, everything is completely different. And that was the first time where I realized that I was being driven by something that I had not yet recognized, which was I was telling everybody that I wanted to generate wealth in my life, but I was acting like I just wanted people to tell me that I was smart. And so the like friction between those like hit this collision. And so at the time I was just a copywriter, and the guys who would later become my partners at the time were my employers. And we got in this huge fight over something stupid. And I was arguing for my idea. I needed my idea to win because they were just so much farther ahead than me. They were smarter than me in that they can process data faster, and that's just true. Like, they could think through things more rapidly than I could. So I was like, I have an inferiority complex over how fast they think, and they're like 15 years ahead of me as entrepreneurs. So I just always feel like a buffoon. And so I'm starting to really feel badly about myself. And so I'm arguing for this dumb idea, arguing. And then finally I wear them down and they agree. And I was like, shit, I know it's the wrong idea. Like, there's a voice in my head screaming, you know this is a stupid idea, stop arguing for it. But I needed to win. And so when they left, I thought, okay, whoa, what's real? I just need to know what's real. No judgment on me. If what you want is to get rich, you have to change the way that you're acting immediately. But if what you really want is to just feel smart, you need to leave this company, because butting heads with them every day and feeling inferior is never going to get you there. And so in that, I realized, wait, there's actually a third option where I could value myself entirely for learning. And if I switched my identity over from being smart, being right, being good, being worthy to just, I learned, that's what I do, then everything will change. And it did literally like that. Like, I remember that day so clearly.
So to me, what you're describing is just another one of those, right?
Go deeper on that concept, the notion that everything loops, that history repeats, because I think people get it from like a US history class, but they don't necessarily understand it in their own life.
There's practically nothing that hasn't happened before, really, if you look at the theme. So when I take your particular case, I can digress into it, but I won't. I'll come back to that in a second. Almost everything that happens has happened many, many times before. And just like I described, there's the hero's journey, and there's this and that, there's that particular path, and the whole thing happens over and over again. So my reaction to what you're saying is, yeah, that's absolutely right. That's a winning strategy. So if you step back from that and you write, okay, what happened to you? What happened to you is what we're talking about. You went above yourself, okay? So you exemplify it. Okay, here are the things. You went above yourself. Now you could have had the ego thing, the big O barrier. Okay, the ego barrier is going to be the thing that's sort of going to kill you. Then by reconciling what your subliminal desires were, okay, I want to be judged as smart, and then connecting that with your intellect and saying, okay, now intellect, what is really going on here? Okay, and then to be able to step out of that. Now you just did it alone, but you could do it with others and it's even better. And so you figure out, oh, okay, this is that. Here's what the choices are. Here's how reality works. And so I'm just saying you did what we were talking about, right? And if everybody gets that and really understands how to go do that, the two big things is, how do you get your alignment of your lower level you with your upper level you? How do you get past your ego and your blind spot? We know what the ego barrier is, like I got to be right or whatever it is, or I'm not good at this. The blind spot barrier is the realization that people actually see things different. They see different things. Like somebody will see the big picture, somebody will see the detail. They'll focus on different things, almost like a color spectrum type of thing. And if you realize that you will see a part of that spectrum and other people will see the other part of the spectrum, and so that you really need to, when you go above yourself, you really need to orchestrate all those ways of seeing, because you are not just one of those people that's got to do it yourself. Your way of being the success is to go above it and be the orchestrator and know what you're good at and what you're not good at. So it's almost like if you want your life to be successful, you will not let yourself do certain things because you're just no good at them. Once you get that picture down, then you can find the paths wherever the paths are. You're open-minded. because you've given up your ego barrier and your blind spot barrier. So your particular case just was another one of those.
Yeah, the concept of just another one of those, I think, is it's bizarrely easy to miss in your book. And so I want to linger on this point for a second. And it's funny because people ask you this question all the time, and you give the same answer. You're so consistent. And yet, people don't spend the time that you spend. So let me encapsulate. You've done so well as an investor, it's kind of crazy. And so needless to say, people are like, all right, what's the strategy? And your answer is actually usually not specific. Your answer is understand the historical context. Understand the historical context and get smart people around you so you're not making decisions by yourself. So the notion of it's another one of those is looking at investing, looking at the human condition, looking at your own life as this thing that has these repeating elements.
Every dimension of everything, the way is another one of those. And so that's how you could, if I can get people to think I want to convey what that means. And then I want to then understand how to think at the principle level, because then life becomes so much easier, because if you have the principle. And what I mean by that is, like you could look at all the things that are coming at you, and they're just the things coming at you. If you instead think of each thing as being like a type of species, think of that as like an animal species or something. Okay, what one of those is it? And how do I deal with those? And you have your principle for dealing with those.
So you have the species coming in, you have a principle that lines up with the species.
Yeah.
So now there's no guesswork or refiguring it out.
Right, figure it's like, I don't know, it's a type of snake that's coming at you. But everything is another one of those. So when you start to think about how do I deal with that, how does reality work, and how do I deal with those? So the way it looks to me, I'll speak figuratively to help to convey the image of what I mean by that. Maybe there is something like 50 different personality types. I don't know what the exact number is. And they are all living out the same scripts, maybe they're just 50 different scripts. And then through those, maybe there's a certain X hundred things through time. And it seems all confusing because we're looking at them bit by bit. It's like you're in a blizzard, a snowstorm, and each of these bits come at you and so on. If you can kind of step back and just say, okay, what one of those is it? And it's happened before, and it's happened to different people. So let's say, for example, you have a kid, and you think, okay, now I'm a kid. And you could just sort of say, okay, now you're parenting. But whatever it is, you can sort of say, hey, it's happened before a million times. And in that particular circumstances. So when you realize everything happens over and over again, pretty much for the same kind of reasons, okay? And you understand that, and you can almost look at who's been through it before, who knows how it works, how do I best navigate that thing? What are my principles for that? Then it's great. The reason I discovered it accidentally, is because I got in the habit that I'd suggest you get into and other people get into. And that is, whenever you're in a situation where you're making a decision, important decision, just pause and write down what type of decision was it, and why did I make that decision that way? That's writing down your principles. It's kind of your recipe for success. And we could talk about it. And then every time I'm in a situation, I'll write down, why did I make that decision? And we could look at those criteria. Did that make sense to do that decision that way? Would you have different criteria? And so on. And you do that over a period of time, okay? And then you have your principles. And then, so they're just your reasons for making your decisions and what matters to you, right? When you do that, so that's why I'm encouraging you, because you're going through these and then you have found a path in life. I viewed your story, what you just told me, is just another one of those. Now you keep doing it, it'll become apparent to you how everything's another one of those, because what'll happen is the next time around, you're going to find, I don't know, let's say you're firing somebody, use that as an example, you would say, okay, now I'm firing somebody again. Okay, now let me just kind of reflect. Would I modify that principle? And how would I do that? And then, okay, now maybe you're firing somebody who's been with you for 10 years and you love. And that's not the same as firing the son of a bitch who you want to get rid of. So then you refine that. How should I deal with that one and that? And why does it make sense? Because that reflection, why does it make sense? Why does it make sense? And really wanting truthfulness. You know, not worried about being embarrassed. Making mistakes, really on the struggle with all of you together is a good thing.
Yeah, so how do you define a species? Like, how do you begin to codify all this stuff and go, because I think it's all too easy to get lost in the, well, this isn't another one of those. This isn't just firing somebody, this is firing somebody that I love. And so, no, there's, you know, this is all
simple.
just so different.
It's simple because all you have to do really is to sort of say, if you start to think everyone's another one, and when I'm making a decision, I just got to write down why I made the decision. I don't care how you title it. Okay, just write down, okay. What are your criteria? Write it down. Well, you'll see that they're close cousins. You know, let's say if you're saying, is it a different one because it's a close relationship that you've had for a long time or somebody is new? Okay, well, you'll see those two things are close together, okay, but it's another one of those things. And it changes your way of seeing things, okay? It changes your perspective. Again, I want to repeat, because then life becomes easier. Because it's not all these bits and pieces. It's another one of those. It gives you an equanimity and like a ninja. Okay, it's another one of these coming at me. Okay, and how do I approach that? And then you can have a conversation. It's just reality. How should you deal with that reality? And if you do that, then you think in a whole different way. Okay, you just want to get to the best way to deal with your realities.